During the Second World War, the high-ranking Nazi officials enjoyed a comfortable and secure life, with the captured territories of Europe at their disposal. They were also very well protected, as to be expected. That's what makes the assassination of Reinhard Heydrich even more astonishing, with the Einsatzgruppen leader being the only member of Nazi high command to be killed during the war. This is the story of Operation Anthropoid and how the little-known death of the Butcher of Prague sent ripples throughout Europe. Background. Before the start of World War II, the Nazis had their eyes on Czechoslovakia and, under their policy of Lebensraum, or living space, occupied the German-speaking Sudetenland, threatening to invade further. This led to the appeasement of Nazi Germany's expansionist ambitions and the subsequent annexation of Czechoslovakia. This policy of appeasement, pursued by Western powers in the late 1930s, contributed to the erosion of Czechoslovakia and emboldened Adolf Hitler in his pursuit of territorial gains. The policy of appeasement was an attempt by Western democracies, notably Britain and France, to avoid a repeat of the devastating World War I. The harsh terms of the Treaty of Versailles had created resentment in Germany, and leaders were concerned about the potential for another large-scale conflict. The climax of appeasement came with the Munich Agreement in September 1938. In response to Hitler's demands for Sudetenland, a region of Czechoslovakia with a significant ethnic German population, Western leaders agreed to the dismemberment of Czechoslovakia without consulting the Czechoslovak government. In October 1938, Nazi Germany occupied the Sudetenland without opposition, essentially acquiring a significant part of Czechoslovakia. This demilitarized the remaining Czechoslovakia, as the majority of the army were prepared for the invasion on the borders. Encouraged by the appeasement process, Hitler continued his expansionist propaganda. In March 1939, Nazi forces occupied the remaining territories, officially dissolving the state. This was a grave mistake by the Allies, however, and failed to prevent the outbreak of World War II, emboldened Hitler, and resulted in the loss of a democratic and industrialized state, depriving the Western Allies of a potential ally in the strategic position in Central Europe. The conquest of Czechoslovakia emboldened Hitler to make further territorial demands, notably the dismemberment of Poland, which directly led to the outbreak of World War II in September 1939. Disgraced naval officer. Reinhard Heydrich, one of the most prominent figures in the Nazi hierarchy, led a life marked by ruthless dedication to the Nazi cause and a rapid ascent through the ranks. Born on the 7th of March 1904 in Halle an der Saale, Germany, Heydrich's early life showed little indication of the dark path he would follow. Heydrich was born into a middle-class family. His father was a composer and an opera singer, while his mother hailed from a devoutly Catholic background. Reinhard, however, rejected his family's Catholic faith and embraced the fervent nationalism and anti-Semitic sentiments that were on the rise in a post-World War I Germany. In his early adult life, Heydrich pursued a career as a naval officer. However, after being discharged for having an affair, his path changed dramatically in 1931 when he joined the Nazi Party. It was his association with Heinrich Himmler, the SS Reichsführer, which propelled his ascent within Nazi hierarchy. Heydrich's role within the SS was pivotal. He played a central part in the organisation and coordination of the Holocaust, earning him the infamous moniker, the Butcher of Prague. Heydrich's notable achievements within the Nazi regime include founding the Sicherheitsdienst, or the SD, as well as overseeing the Einsatzgruppen mobile killing squads and chairing the Wannsee Conference that formalised the plans for the Holocaust. It was this ruthless efficiency in implementing the Nazi agenda that led to the hatred felt towards him by the people of occupied Czechoslovakia, and that led to a daring plan. Operation Anthropoid. The operation's planning began in late 1941 by František Moravec, head of the Czechoslovak intelligence services. This was under the knowledge and approval of the Czech president in exile, Edvard Beneš, and began almost as soon as Heydrich was appointed protector. Preparation began on the 20th of October 1941. Moravec had personally selected 24 of the most promising personnel from among the 2,000 exiled Czechoslovak soldiers based in Britain. They were sent to one of British Special Operations Executive, or SOE's, commando training centres in Arisaig, Scotland. Warrant Officer Josef Gabčík and Staff Sergeant Karel Svoboda were chosen to carry out the operation on the 20th of October 1941, Czechoslovakia's Independence Day, but after Svoboda received a head injury during training, he was replaced by Jan Kubiš. This caused delays in the mission, as Kubiš had not completed training, nor had the necessary force documents been prepared for him. Kubiš and Gabčík were parachuted into Czechoslovakia on the 20th of December 1941 near Pilsen. They used their false identities and relied on the support of local Czech resistance members. The assassins remained in hiding as they collected information about Heydrich's daily routine and movements. After many months of evading capture and meticulous planning and coordination with resistance members and army officers based in the UK, the final plan was decided on. On the 27th of May 1942, Kubiš and Gabčík launched their attack on Heydrich. They ambushed his car near the Prague suburb of Kobylice as it was travelling to the Prague castle from his home. Gabčík's Sten submachine gun jammed, but he managed to throw a grenade that damaged Heydrich's vehicle. This led to a fight to break out between the driver and the two paratroopers, as the car was now disabled. In the ensuing chaos, Kubiš managed to successfully throw a bomb into the car, which severely wounded Heydrich when it detonated, with shrapnel ripping through the car and into Heydrich, causing serious injuries to his left side, with major damage to his diaphragm, spleen and lung, as well as fracturing a rib. The paratroopers fled the scene, thinking their attack had failed. Heydrich was gravely wounded, and after being transported to hospital, where he attempted to recover from his wounds and battled sepsis. Despite his condition initially appearing to be improving, he succumbed to his injuries on the 4th of June 1942, a week after the attack. Retaliation. Heydrich's death shocked the Nazi leadership, and Adolf Hitler was infuriated. Heydrich was a key figure in the Nazi regime, and he was responsible for overseeing the implementation of the final solution, and his loss was significant. In a brutal act of vengeance, the Nazis decided to make an example of the Czech people. On the 9th of June 1942, just a few days after Heydrich's death, the Nazis carried out the Lidice massacre. They chose the village of Lidice as their target, mistakenly believing that it was connected to the assassins. Nazi forces surrounded the village, and in a horrifying act, they killed all 178 men. The women and children were separated. Women were sent to concentration camps, and the children were sent for Germanization. The village of Lidice was entirely destroyed. Houses were burnt and fields were ploughed over. The very existence of Lidice was to be erased. Shortly after the Lidice massacre, another village suffered a similar fate. Ležáky, another Czech village, was accused of sheltering the assassins. On the 24th of June 1942, Nazi forces descended upon Ležáky. The entire village was destroyed, and the inhabitants faced the same fate as those in Lidice. Men were killed, and women and children were sent to concentration camps. The brutality of these retaliations sent shockwaves throughout Nazi-occupied territories. Kubiš and Gabčík, and the others who helped with the plot, went into hiding in Prague. It was hoped that the massacres would lure out the paratroopers and other collaborators. However, it only strengthened their resolve. With the search seemingly stalling, it took the confession of Karel Čurda, a member of the sabotage group, who turned himself in to the Gestapo and gave up the names of the team's local contacts for the bounty of 1 million Reichsmarks. This led to raids on the safe houses, where they were nowhere to be found. However, they were eventually discovered in the crypt of the Orthodox Cathedral of Saints Cyril and Methodius. Surrounded by Nazi forces, and after putting up a valiant defence, they ultimately chose suicide over capture. This wasn't enough for the Nazis, however, and beyond the specific destruction of Ligice and Ležáky and the discovery of the paratroopers, they implemented a broad campaign of arrests and executions throughout Czechoslovakia. Thousands of Czechs were arrested and many executed, while others were sent to concentration camps. The reprisals extended to anyone even remotely connected to the Czech resistance, resulting in a climate of fear and repression. Despite the brutal Nazi retaliation, the assassination of Heydrich and its aftermath did not quell the spirit of Czech resistance. In fact, it galvanised many Czechs to continue the fight against Nazi occupiers. Acts of sabotage and resistance persisted, and Czechs played a role in the broader resistance movements across Europe. Today, Ligice stands as a memorial to the victims of the Nazi revenge, a solemn reminder of the price paid for resistance. The memory of the Ligice and Ležáky massacres lives on as a testament to the importance of never forgetting the horrors of the past and the value of standing up against tyranny, even in the face of extreme brutality. Historical impact. The assassination of Reinhard Heydrich and the subsequent Nazi retaliation serve as a grim reminder of the lengths to which the Nazi regime would go to maintain control. It underscores the atrocities committed against innocent civilians, the depths of brutality in their reprisals, and the resilience of those who opposed the Nazi occupation. The Ligice and Ležáky massacres, among other acts of Nazi retaliation, are enduring symbols of Nazi barbarity. Operation Anthropoid was a critical moment in the fight against the Nazi regime. While it did not immediately halt the Holocaust or Nazi occupation, it demonstrated that high-ranking Nazi officials were not beyond reach. The courage and determination of the individuals involved served as an inspiration and an example of resistance against tyranny. The sacrifice of those who carried out the mission and the suffering of the Czech people in its aftermath are commemorated to this day. Operation Anthropoid stands as a symbol of bravery in defiance against overwhelming odds. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, then please give it a like. And for more amazing tales and thrilling stories, don't forget to subscribe to Uncovered Secrets. Also, hit the bell icon to stay notified for every release.